Hello, welcome to another video by LSX Engines, Tuning, and Marine. In this video, I'm starting the stage of a teardown of a small block Chevrolet or small block GM engine that was in a boat for a marine application. And I just completed the leak down test, and I'm now about to start taking this one apart. So the first thing I'm going to do, or I've already done it, but I'm just showing you the video, I'm going to take the power steering pump off and then the distributor out, followed by the electrical harness, and then followed by this front harmonic balancer, and then take the valve covers off, cylinder heads, intake, so forth. So I'll do more videos as I progress. All right, continuing with the tear down of this small block V8 in a marine application. I've just removed the bell housing, the outdrive coupling, and the flywheel off the back of this engine. For the flywheel, since I'm working by myself in my shop, I've got this chain that I suspend from the ceiling. Actually, I suspend it from this wooden structure, but I've got a chain I suspend, and I hook the chain, use one bolt to hold the coupling on, and attach the chain to the flywheel in case when I'm trying to pull it off, sometimes it's stuck. You have to hit it on the hammer, and I can only use one hand to hold the flywheel, so I'll hook the chain up to it with a few inches of slack, and if it falls off, the chain catches it. And I put the wood down there just in case it falls and hits the floor if I drop it again. But this chain serves its purpose well to catch the flywheel if I drop it, or if I lose grip of it, because it's very heavy. So one thing I do, a tip that I can give you, is it'll save you a lot of time. This is the rear main seal. It doesn't come off yet because the oil pan is kind of clamping it in there, but I go ahead and take the bolts out. Was a nut here. It's a 7/16 nut, a 3/8 bolt, 3/8 bolt, and 3/8 bolt. I take these out because once you put the engine stand on here, it's very hard to get to these bolts. It'll take you 30 minutes to get these out with the engine stand on it. So by removing these bolts now, I save myself a lot of time when I get ready to pull this main seal off when I've got the crank ready to come out. So that's just a little helpful tip for when you're taking a motor apart. All right, continuing on the rest of this, I'm about to mount the engine stand, the engine stand bracket. And once I get the bracket on, I'll put it on the engine stand and take this, right now it's on a engine lift, and I'll take this engine lift off and be ready to work on this motor to tear it down. The reason I don't use the hoist to work on it is because the engine stand allows you to flip the engine upside down when you start to take the bottom end apart. So engine stand is, unless you want to be working laying on your back up under an engine, you need an engine stand. So that's why I use engine stands. So about to continue on with taking this thing apart. I'll do another video when I get to the point of starting to disassemble the top end of this motor. All right, after I did the leak down test, I'm now in the stages of tearing down this small block. First thing I did was take the entire bracket that held the power steering pump on, took it off the front of the motor. It was attached here, here, here. There was a long bolt here, and I think this bolt, that bolt, and one of these two bolts was the same length. So there was a plastic wire tie holding the power steering hoses to this bracket, and then on the back, the power steering cooler was just hanging here with the lines. Took it all, got it all as assembly, and put it in my tub to keep track of it. What I'm doing now is removing the distributor to try to make this thing less congested here. And as you can see, I marked it. The mark's maybe just a little bit off. The distributor looks like it's rotated a little bit counterclockwise versus the mark, but not too far. I'm just showing the video so I can reference this later. So about to pull the distributor after marking it, and then we'll proceed on. After the distributor, I'm going to get the more likely I'm going to do the harness after the distributor, and then after the harness, it'll be the intake will come off, and then the cylinder heads. So stay tuned. All right, the distributor's been removed, and the oil was very black and smelled like gasoline. That makes a lot of sense because this engine had a lot of cylinders that were leaking down and not making compression and misfiring, and so there's a lot of gas being dumped in this engine. So the distributor's out. I'm now about to take the harness off, and this video is just show kind of a general routing of the harness. So I'm coming back to the front. This harness here This one came across the front. This is for your coolant sensor. This went over to, that was there. This here came across and plugged in right there. And then this was your oil, your gear oil reservoir level detector. Coming back across the front, I call it the passenger side of the motor. I believe this was connected to the fuel pump power. This was your, one of these is your kill, let's see, that one, that wasn't used. This was the kill switch going to your shift kill, or what do they call it? The kills ignition when you're changing gears. Coming on back, these wires here, this went to the choke. That went to the choke. That wasn't used. Coming back again, this is your fuse breaker panel that was attached to the back of the carburetor. And this was your carburetor linkage here. This was attached to the ignition module that was mounted on the exhaust system riser. This was your knock sensor module. This was your Thunderbolt ignition module. These two wires here went to the distributor. They're two male-female bullet connectors, so it's polarized. Can't get that wrong. Again, that went to the distributor. Coming on back, you got the harness coming through here. This is an oil pressure device. I don't know if it's a switch or a safety device. Then you got your distributor wires, purple on positive, and it looks like maybe gray on the negative to the ignition coil. And then these two went to the back of the boat. I'm not sure what they were for. And then down on the side over here, you got some wires coming down in here behind the coil. Let's see where that going up to. Comes up part of the harness. Coming in here behind the coil, you got some wires that go down here to your oil pressure devices. You got, let me see if we got a good picture of that. So you got purple in the center, or purple right here, and you got this something with a yellow stripe down here on the bottom of that. And then, can't tell what color that is. Let me see, pull it off. Okay, it's blue going to your oil. I think this is your oil pressure sending unit right here. That's what gives you oil pressure on your gauge on your boat. And that thing's very loose. It's not even very tight, so it'll probably leak some oil out there. So, and then you had a ground wire attached to this rear. There was a stud coming out. This ground wire went there. There was a ground from the distributor attached to the stud. And there was other grounds in the boat that were attached to that stud there. And then the harness has your boat to engine connector here. I'm just take the whole bracket off, take it with me. And then coming on around the bottom here, you got wires going to your starter, and then this continues on to your alternator. So that's the harness. I'm about to take it off and clean it up. Continuing on with the teardown of this, it's actually a 5.7. I measured the bore and it's 4 inches. So continuing on with this 5.7 teardown, just as the leak down test predicted, you have a head gasket failure right here. You can see this is probably one of the worst I've ever seen. The head gasket is completely gone between those two cylinders. The gasket material is it's been eaten away or blown away, whatever. So you had straight leakage from number 6. This is number 6, and that's number 4. So these two cylinders were incapacitated by that blown head gasket right there. There's number 2, and I don't see anything major wrong with it. I'll have to go back and look at my leak down testers. I think it had a bad valve or something, but just looking at the head gasket, I don't see anything wrong with number 2, but definitely number 4 and 6. Also, number 8 was holding pressure, so it looks like it was good. The sealing ring is inside the or outside the edge of the bore, so number 8 was holding pressure. Okay, moving on to the other side of the engine. This is the what I call the driver side. This is the odd cylinders, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So here's 1. It was holding, so it was its head gasket was good. But if you look at 3 and 5, once again, you got a blown head gasket between 3 and 5. That's 3 right there, and that's 5. And you can see very clearly that the gasket blew out into 3, and there was a leaking head gasket between 3 and 5. 7, as I recall, had 65 psi, so there's something wrong with it too. Might have been right there, I'm not sure. Close, but anyway, so just checking out 7, see if there's anything wrong with its head gasket. It was holding 65 psi, so maybe it was in the valves on that one. So I'll have to go back and check the valves on that. Found some interesting things on the head, so I'll show that in a later video. But just got the heads off, and now I'm continuing tearing down this block. So the leak down test predicted, definitely predicted the blown head gasket between 4 and 6, and I'll have to go back and look at the data, but it probably predicted 3 and 5 also. So what I'm now about to do is remove all these lifters and bag them. I've got bags for all the valve train parts, and so I'm going to put all these lifters on the same cylinder they came off of, and then flip the block over and take the bottom side apart.